Alright, we're set up in experimental mode here. I have the 3-ball governor hooked up, driven by an O-ring drive belt from my small mill. And what you see here, as this spins faster and faster under centrifugal force, it will make the yoke move and pivot. And I've put a big long pointer on here just to make it more visible. So as it goes faster and the balls spin outward, that lever rotates. And this is the main spring here, which forces the balls back into the down position. You can see that when the balls swing out, it compresses this spring, and when I let it go, the spring pushes the mechanism back down and returns the balls to the current position. What I've attempted to do is I put a pair of counter springs on here, and when I tighten them up, they're on this side of the pivot. So if you tighten these springs, if you stretch these springs out more, they counteract the force that's applied by this main spring on the center of the spindle. What I'm going to do, I'm going to start the mill, and this will rotate, and as it rotates, this purple pointer, which I've created out of a cardboard box, it's going to move because it's attached to the lever. And the way I've got the speed set right now, you're going to see the tip of that pointer come down, and it'll rest pretty well on the center of that hole in this witness piece. And then I'm going to turn the counter springs here, and you can see I've got ½ inch of thread that I can tighten up to draw those springs tighter, and you'll see the influence that it has on the tip of the pointer when I move the counter spring. It gets a bit noisy. I think that you'll be able to hear me over the mill, so first we'll turn it on. Now that it's turned out, the balls have flown out part way from centrifugal force, and we're pretty well pointed at the center of that hole. Now you just watch where the pointer is in relationship to the hole as I wind my counter springs up. You can see that the pointer is starting to move downward away from the center of the hole, so that when I've tightened my counter springs as far as I possibly can, I'm getting about 3/4 of an inch of movement out here. That's not a great deal, but what my hope is that if, for instance, I had a link going from the lever to the throttle on an engine, I'll be able to set the speed of the engine so that it maintains a speed at a certain point. Now this is all theoretical. I'm winding my counter springs the opposite direction. You can see that the pointer is coming back up towards the center of the hole. So there we are, we're back on center. Now that's how much adjustment the counter springs give me. I don't know if that's enough to really accomplish what I want in terms of hooking it to the throttle on a gasoline engine or not. But we're going to find out. Now just for the heck of it, I'm going to rev this thing up higher, and you can watch the pointer and you can watch the balls as they fly all the way out. I have aluminum balls on there now because I found that the brass balls were too heavy. So here we go, picking up RPM. So that's pretty well my full range of movement, from almost a dead stop to almost wide open. And like I say, I'll put that back at a speed where we're centered on the hole. So you can see I am able to influence how much the yoke pivots by adjusting this wheel and adjusting the tension on these springs to counter the compression spring on the center of the spindle. So I'm going to carry on with this, and I'll let you know what the results were. There you can see the aluminum balls. As I say, the brass ones were too heavy. I couldn't really make the springs do very much to counter the centrifugal force of the heavier brass spring or brass ball flying out. With the aluminum, there's considerable difference. So thanks for having a look.